Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. Welcome to the voyage of the starship Drunken Dread. Our mission, to drink strange new drinks and to boldly go nowhere the DM has planned for you. Welcome to Drunken Dread. Oh my god, I missed the captain's chair so much. It was one Drunken Dread, and I got to play, and it was great, and I got to drink, but I missed the captain's chair. So hey gang, welcome to the Plastered Dragon and to another exciting night of Drunken Dread and a very special Star Trek episode of Drunken Dread. As always, thank you so much for visiting us here at the Plastered Dragon. Do me a favor, if you're new, please give us a like or a follow up at the top. And if you're feeling magnanimous, you can even subscribe and you'll be able to have access to one of our cool little emojis and toasty and things like that. So yes. As always, here at Drunken Dread, you will have the chance to mess with our players. You can always submit bits to be able to mess with them, and let's go over some of the fun, exciting ways that you can mess with players this evening. And we have some brand new players for you to mess with. So for 200 bits, you can basically grant a player a power-up. That player will be able to push a simple challenge to another player. So if Tracy has a challenge that she needs to do, she could just push that challenge over to her mother, Diana. For 300 bits, you can make an instant obstacle appear in front of the opponent of your choice, and they cannot drink to bypass that obstacle. They have to pull a brick from the Jenga tower. For 500, it is a DM challenge of my discretion. For 1,000, it is a blindfolded pull, and for 1,500, it is a showdown. 2 players, 4 pulls each. That's where we apparently have seen the most sort of tower falling over.
At least tower thinning.
Yes, tower thinning. So we need that. So all of that being said, welcome so much to the Starship Enterprise. This is taking place during Next Generation. We are aboard the Enterprise. Before we get started, I want to introduce you to some of the people that are on the Starship Enterprise at the moment. Now, you know a lot of sort of the popular figures. You know Captain Jean-Luc Picard, you know Lieutenant Worf, you know Commander Riker, you know Data, you know Geordi, but you don't know some of the players that are sitting here at the couch with me today. So, Tracy, why don't you introduce us to your character, please?
I'm Kurach. I'm half Klingon. Worf gets all the credit for being the Klingon on the ship. It's really annoying. I am the turbo lift control person. I mean, essentially elevator operator. It kind of sucks, but that's me. That's my job. Thanks.
And Ginny?
Okay, I'm human, and I take care of the uniforms.
Someone has to do it, and this is Diana's first time playing the game of Drunken Dread. She's watched it before. Diana is Tracy's mom.
Aww.
And so there's a bit of a competitive side between the two of them right now. So if you want to force her to make a pull, so spend those bits on Tracy's mom. Exactly. Thank you. I didn't say it. The Plaster Dragon said it. Who's also producing. Thank you so much, Angel Dragon.
He literally said it.
Yes.
Right there.
Yes.
Like
and
there's proof.
Audie, welcome back. Would you tell us who you are playing this evening?
I am playing Civi, who is an Orion.
Okay.
And she is not like very other Orion. She's very to herself, very quiet. Her job on the ship is she maps stars wherever they go.
And she's got this beautiful like green skin, right? Okay. And John, welcome back to Drunken Dread. Would you tell us who your character is during this game?
The name's Flurple. I'm a stowaway on this ship, and that's all you're getting out of me, unless you're gonna throw some gold pressed latinum my way.
So we have a stowaway. I do want to thank Subs, who for the first time in any game of Drunken Dread ever has decided to start the game with a versus between two characters, between You and your daughter?
I really think we should have to pull some bricks before that starts because it just seems unfair.
I think so too. Florple is Ferengi. So while I set the scene, we're gonna warm up a little bit. Okay. So we're gonna set the scene a little bit. We'll start at the end. This is what's happening aboard the Starship Enterprise. Aboard the Starship Enterprise, you are currently docked at a space station, loading up on supplies, and it's been a long time since the Starship Enterprise was able to stop and sort of let the crew stretch their legs a little bit. Now, anytime the Starship, even if it's a Federation outpost, there needs to be a crew that remains on board. So, unbeknownst to you all, while the ship was docked, you had a stowaway sort of sneak on board. He actually transported into Cargo Bay C and has been rummaging around in certain boxes. But you are currently the ghost crew aboard the Starship Enterprise. The three of you are on the bridge. I'm sure who is sitting in the captain's chair.
I am.
Yes, of course. So you're sitting in the captain's chair, and it is a quiet night. The rest of the crew, in fact, all of the rest of the crew, is on board, and they're relaxing. They're having drinks. There's a rumor that Riker is just blitzed on Synthanol
Again.
and hitting on everything that moves. In fact, I'm almost positive that Riker has hit on all three of you at one point or another during your voyage.
I hit on him too.
Yes, and
I promptly ran away.
you promptly ran away, and
I didn't mind.
you didn't mind, and in fact, his uniforms got a little tighter, like after your encounter.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you three are on. You three are on board, and all of a sudden there is a flash of light, and a very tall, handsome-looking gentleman sort of transports aboard the bridge. And as this man transports upon the bridge, I'm going to need all of you to pull a brick. Because all three of you are in a state of shock because this man not only transports aboard the bridge, but he is wearing a captain's uniform. Would you come over here, Tim? He looks a lot like this. Actually, he's wearing a full Starfleet uniform. He's got his comms badge, and
yes.
there you go. And he looks exactly like this, and he starts talking to Picard. Who is not on the bridge. But this man goes, "Now, Picard, I have all of these things that I... Well, you're not Picard. Who are you?"
I'm Kurok. Who are you?
"Well, I'm Q. You should know who I am."
I just clean costume.
Yes. And who are you?" Are you to tell me that you are the only beings aboard this ship?" "No, wait, there's one more." And he snaps his fingers, and a Ferengi is now aboard the bridge, and he's holding what appears to be a box of clothing.
What the shit?
And he's like rifling through the clothing. And he says, "Well, now, come on, this won't do. I was here to talk with Picard and have a verbal repartee, a back and forth, and where is everyone?"
Is that information he needs to know?
"Oh, I like you. You have a little bit of feistiness. All of you do, don't you? Well, I suppose the four of you will have to do. I guess I can use you as my playthings until the proper toys get here. Let's see." And he lifts his hand, and there is a scroll in front of them, and he goes, "Lift control. Well, that's not very exciting, is it? Uniforms, my, the best of the best on the bridge, And you, a cartographer, and you snuck aboard the Enterprise."
Lies! I belong here. I live here.
The scroll closes and it disappears. And he goes, "You know, maybe that's been my problem. I've been playing with people that are too good at their job. Maybe I should see what average people, how they handle some of these situations. Yes, that will do nicely. I need all 4 of you to pull a brick from the tower, please.
Go ahead. You can go first.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, we're going crazy tonight.
Ginny, as you are standing there, you are over by a control panel that has been relatively quiet while you've been on the bridge of the Enterprise, but all of a sudden a light goes off, showing that there's been a proximity alarm sent off in 10 forward, showing you that there's something wrong in 10 forward.
I guess I'd better go to 10 forward and see what's going on.
Now, before you leave to go to 10 forward, who else pulls a brick?
Okay.
We won't fall over immediately like last time. Can you hold that, please? Thank you.
As you are standing there, and you actually have a sketch pad out. It's very novel because you are using paper. You realize that in the shuttlecraft bay that there is another proximity alarm that has gone off. So 10 forward in the shuttlecraft bay, and one more alarm sounds off. As you two are a little confused about what's happening, you realize that another alarm is sounding, and that's in the holodeck. So we have 3 certain alarms going off, and you're standing there somewhat perplexed, and he says, I guess I have to sweeten the deal. I want you to play along. And he claps his hands, and you have a Starfleet uniform on. And it's like, play your role, and I'll give you all the gold press latinum that your little greedy heart desires.
Well, hold on. I want a lot of gold press latinum, and I feel like this may not
I
be...
will fill your shuttlecraft with gold press latinum and
You've got
send
a
you on
deal,
your
sir.
merry way. Now, you have 3 alarms going off, and a deal has just been struck. Be aware that the choices you make may send ripples through time. So, on your marks, get set, begin. And he waves his hand, and he is suddenly wearing this referee's outfit. And he takes a stopwatch out, and he clicks a timer. And you see 60 seconds float in the air above you.
Oh, shit.
And you realize that it is counting down those 60 seconds to realize where the 4 of you are going to head all together.
You only made a deal with him. You didn't make a deal with us.
Well, hold on. I feel like teamwork is important.
Good point.
Yes.
And he disappears.
Oh, hell.
The stopwatch counts down, so let's raise a toast to our game of Drunken Dread, entitled Q and A. Here's to all the stories from now until we're dead. Here's to you, here's to me, and to all of you. Here's Dread. 59, 58,
Oh, crap.
57,
Check sensors and
56.
see if
55,
there's what's
54,
coming onto the ship. We should be able to
56.
check
Let's go to the
here.
holodeck.
I'd like to check the sensors.
Perfect. Yes, you can certainly do that. Now, this is not your sort of
Right.
cup of tea. So you check the sensors, and you realize that through 2 distinct life forms have been detected. One of those life forms is currently in the cargo bay, as previous at the shuttlecraft bay, and another life form is in 10 forward. And as you're checking the sensors, 3 other life forms transport into the 10 forward area. So now there are more life forms in the 10 forward area, and the clock is still counting down.
Maybe we should all go to 10 forward.
Let's go to 10 forward.
We need phasers.
Yes.
Good. The minute you say, maybe we should all go to 10 forward, the clock stops, and you hear a voice echoing in your head. Interesting. Well, phasers you shall have. And in your hands are phasers. All of them set to stun in the default setting, but can be raised if so desired. What's next?
I run into the turbo lift.
Can I follow?
Yes.
Following.
Let's go! Woo!
You head over to the turbo lift, and the turbo lift takes you down to where 10 forward is, and the turbo lift doesn't exit right at 10 forward. There's a long sort of hallway, and as you are coming down, the turbo lift snags a little bit, and I would say you would realize this because you are aware of how the turbo lift operates, and as it does, it snags and then stops and then opens, and you are no longer aboard the Enterprise. The hallways are very metallic, not dark, still lit, but it is definitely not aboard the Enterprise. Now, if any of you want to pull a brick or take a swig, I would say that you could recognize what this architecture
You wanna do
looks
it or you
like.
want
Take a swig.
Okay. You are a bit of a history buff, and you realize that this is the headquarters for one Gold Dukat.
Gold Dukat.
And Gold Dukat, as you think this and say this out loud, a Cardassian man steps out of the hallway, walks past, turns around and looks, and sees the four of you standing there, and goes, huh. And he keeps walking down a hallway, and there's a brief pause.
Are we in DS9?
You can't ask a question like
Why?
that. Because we wouldn't know.
Oh,
Are you going to tell us?
I did tell you. Did I tell him?
She
Yeah,
said it. She
I
did.
said it.
Okay, she said this.
I told you guys.
You got a weird ship here, guys.
So this is Gold Dukat's ship then?
Possibly.
I heard
You
gold.
could
I'm
you
interested.
could explore. There are doors along this sort of hallway leading down, and it looks like a corridor that branches off, almost like a T intersection.
Should we follow that guy?
Hey, guy!
As you say, "Hey guy!" Three Cardassians come out of the hallway, all bearing blasters, and all look at you and start firing at you. So I need all of you to take a drink or a pull in order to avoid being hit.
Never mind, guy.
That's good. That's good. Four of you duck back into the turbo lift, and as you duck back into the turbo lift, the doors close a little bit, and you realize that there are now two other buttons illuminated, and only two, which is somewhat odd because there are no buttons usually in the turbo lift. You just tell the computer to take you where to go. But there are two now in there, and they look very primitive, almost like a different society. And Q manifests himself, and he's wearing a bellboy's hat. He's wearing a very smart vest, and he goes, "Now, this is a fun adventure, and you would be able to see a little bit of what happened to your dear Captain Picard at one point during his many misadventures. But you aren't privy to that, and it may not even be a part of this universe. But you don't have to stay here. You could always go to any of the other places I have mapped out for you."
Do we still get the Latinum?
Yes, you do.
Let's go.
we?
I misspoke.
I do find it odd that a warrior would run away from battle like this, but who am I to say that?
We're not all warriors.
Yes, but she is. And he disappears.
This is not a battle, and this is not where we belong.
Then let's go.
Hands reach to the turbo lift and start trying to pry the door open. and you recognize the sort of gray skin that is trying to pry this door open. It is Cardassian in nature, and you hear screaming from the other side of the door. And if you peek through the center, you see something that sends shivers down your spine. You see the hallway is now filled with what looks to be soldiers trying to break into this hallway.
Let's
Press
push
the
a
button.
button.
What
Press
are
the
the two
button.
symbols?
One of them looks to be, it is just words. It is holodeck and shuttlecraft bay.
Oh, so it's the other two choices.
Shuttlecraft Bay.
Shuttlecraft.
In order to do that, you were going to have to pry the hands away from the door because the turbo lift is not moving. There are too many.
If we shoot the hand, will they
Certainly.
close
How much phaser training have you had, Ginny?
it?
Good.
She's had a lot.
Yes, and that's why she doesn't have to drink or pull unless she wants to assist any of you. But all of you
Don't
will need
forget
to.
about the.
You would
We
drink.
haven't contested.
You will, and that's happening in this second area.
So to shoot my phaser at these hands, I have to do something.
One of the hands is blasted backwards as you feel a body slip away from the door. 3 more sets of hands.
another
You'll
one.
shoot another one.
I finished mine. Give me
Perfect. That's great. Another set of hands falls back away from the door.
Fire through the door.
Yeah, you fire through the door. One falls backward. If you would like to assist with Ginny's, she does not have to, but you need to take a drink for me.
I will assist.
I can.
Thank you.
Oh,
Oh, unless you really want to, go
I
ahead.
can take it. I'm a big girl.
Ginny pries one of the hands away, and as she does, the hands all fall backward. The door closes. The turbo lift goes down, and it opens into a hallway that can only be described as organic meets mechanic. There are green lights centered around the walls. There's an odd moisture in the air, and you hear the sounds of mechanics happening. There's a sort of a black tint to the walls, and you see heavy lights and machinery all lining the hallway. And as you look out, all 4 of you are suddenly swarmed by figures as 2 figures come up behind you and put your arms behind your back, and 2 other figures come forward to you and put your arms behind your back and start leading you down a hallway.
I brought them in.
And as you do that, you realize that this is something that you all are very familiar with. This is the Borg. And the Borg are now surrounding you, and as the Borg are surrounding you, they are leading the 2 of you to an area that looks to be a long operating table. And one of them picks up a saw, and this is where we are going to start our verses.
Or what?
Verses. 4 pulls for you, 4 pulls for you. We
All at
start
one
with
time?
you, Jenny. So it
One
goes
at a time.
1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4. And say thank you subs right into the camera. Right there. Say thank you subs. All right, Mom. This is your trial by fire. Welcome to Drunken Dread. Ginny is thrust down upon the table as
She's a board.
as a saw comes close to her hand, and Ginny does the only thing that she can think to do. She actually reaches forward and grabs the uniform of the being in front of her and rips it downward, sending it toppling to the ground. As the being is sent tumbling forward to the ground, 2 other beings appear behind our... Ooh, careful.
Whoever left.
Our Klingon, and our Klingon very easily takes the 2 of them and smashes the 2 of them together. Ginny, you try to get up from the table. As you get up from the table, what feels like a force reaches up and pulls your head back down, and it's holding you. It doesn't feel like hands or anything like that. It just feels like almost like a little miniature tractor beam. But through sheer force of will, you manage to break away from this tractor beam,
Swear to God, if everyone dies except for Florple.
and wow, you still have to put that at the top.
Generally, towers are better when you take out their entire base.
Well, who did this?
I don't know.
Had to be a group of 4 people.
No, it didn't.
You break away from this little beam that sends you forward. You decide that today would be a good day to die, and you jump into the fray, Tracy, and start firing off phasers. The phasers have been taken off stun. You see Borgs falling to the wayside as the 4 of you start backing your way slowly back
great.
towards the turbo lift. You still have 2 more pulls, my dear. 2 more. So do pull number 3, and then
is
Tracy
that?
goes.
Subs.
I'd like
A
to meet
vi-
them.
He was just here. You missed it.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks ago.
So Ginny summons an inner strength and actually reaches down and picks up one of the Borgs and holds it in front of her, so that any of the phaser fire seems to be being soaked up by the body in front of her. And
Yes.
as long as you're using just one hand at a time and you're being very careful, very
Can I
very
push that
careful.
back in?
If you like.
Can.
That was a cool trick. You
This is a lot of stress before the outbreak.
Well,
As you are using this Borg,
can I take a drink instead?
no, these are 4 pulls, Mama. I'm so sorry.
No, you're not.
I'm not. This is really good storytelling. This,
I think that's the one you were pushing before.
I don't think so. I think it was the one below.
Yeah.
So you managed to get a
You can get up and
hold.
walk around if you want to.
You managed to get this Borg being in front of you, who's also wearing a Starfleet uniform, and you get it in front of you. It soaks up the majority of the phaser fire, and it is a success as you are getting closer and closer to the turbo lift. The 2 of you jump backwards and sort of flop backwards and in the turbo lift and are holding the doors open for the rest of your crew. You realize that the rest of your party has left, and you start to fight your way through this horde of biomechanical beings. This is your last pull, Mom.
Again?
Again, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's 4 pulls each. Come on, Mom.
You got this. You've got this!
Oh, nice.
Is that
moved
nice
really
bad or?
nicely.
Yes, it did,
What
but
do you mean nice bad?
With a last desperate move, Ginny flings the Borg creature forward and falls back into the turbo lift. As she falls back into the lift, it is just up to you.
Make it back, make it back, make it back.
One more person fighting their way through a horde of Borgs, and you see what looks to be a woman who looks different from the rest of the Borgs, stepping down this hallway slowly towards you, and she says, "Resistance is futile." As you step into the lift. What do you say to her in response after she says resistance is futile?
Resist this.
And the doors slam shut. And as the doors slam shut, you see Q, and he's wearing what could only be described as a male cheerleader's outfit. And he is just, well done. Oh, I think that you all are my favorite of new toys. But let's see, that's 1, 2, 1 floor left. I wonder what could be there. Well, it doesn't take a detective to figure out.
Yeah.
And he disappears. And as the doors come forward, you see They open up, and before you, you are finally aboard the Enterprise.
Oh, thank God.
And you see Holodeck A is there, and there's some wisp of smoke that seem to be coming out.
The holodeck's on fire!
I grab. There's always the like fire extinguisher type things on the side, so I go to grab one of those.
You grab one of the fire extinguishers, and as you walk towards the doors to the holodeck open, and as they open, you realize it's not smoke at all. It's a light fog, a fog cloud, if you would, that seems to be billowing in from the holodeck. And you are in a cobblestoned street that lies before you. The street is lit by torches, by lamp lights and things like that. You don't see anyone else walking on the street. You do see someone at the very end of it. He's wearing Victorian clothing, a large hat, and he's holding a cane, and his back is turned to you.
Hey, guy!
He turns around and looks at you, and he says, "Well, that's a little different. I didn't know my time was up. But the door's still open. Well, this could be very interesting." And Mr. Moriarty starts walking down the cobblestone steps, making his way towards all of you.
Hi, my name's Florple.
Hello, Florple.
Cool.
Oh,
Who are you?
me, I am but a weary traveler, such as yourselves, and I look forward to assisting you in your endeavor. I take it that you are brought here by Q, were you not?
Yes.
Yeah,
Why would
we're
you
not
think
giving
that?
you any latinum.
Well, that is my job. I think ahead. And I have to assume that the only being powerful enough to bring the four of you within my realm must be Q. So, why don't I help you get away from his influence?
Can I do the Orion thing and release pheromones and people listen to me?
Absolutely, you can.
I'm gonna do that.
Yep. You want to take a drink for me?
Yeah.
Or make a pull? So you release your pheromones, and Moriarty smiles a bit, and he goes, "My dear, I am but a hologram, be it a sentient hologram. But Florple, you are digging it. Your ears are vibrating. This green skin beauty next to you is just, I don't know. Girl, you got what I need. Like, you are like, forget the latinum. This is a, but Moriarty laughs and he says, it is a very clever tactic, and I'm quite unsure of where you got the dog from, but
Don't ask me any questions.
allow me to assist you. And what is your name?
Jenny.
Ginny. Ginny, what a beautiful name. Why don't you lend me your phaser, and I will help you fight off Q, and using my intellect, which could rival his.
No.
You just said you were holograms. He made you.
That is true. That is true. And he sort of walks around all of you and starts like appraising you. And he walks around you and he walks to you and he says, "You're a warrior, of course, and being a Klingon, and I know you. And Ferengi.
Hi.
Only read about you through the computer." And as he's walking around, who wants to make a perception check?
I will.
It is the Ferengi that notices. Everybody else, I can't believe I'm saying this. Everybody but the Ferengi.
My bad.
Everybody but the Ferengi earmuffs.
Ooh.
He is now back to, his back is facing the exit to the holodeck as he was appraising everybody, and he's now taking a couple of steps backward, but you're the only one that notices. All right.
I shoot him.
You shoot him.
I shoot him.
the you
He's a holodeck figure.
Didn't matter. I shoot him.
you shoot him, and in shooting him, it goes straight through him because he is a hologram. But there is a disruption, and his figure sort of disrupts for a second, and as it disrupts for a second, he turns and looks behind him, and now is very aware to all of you that he is managed to maneuver himself so that his back is to the exit to the holodeck, and he looks and turns back and smiles at you, and then takes off running towards the doors to the holodeck.
So the doors are still up.
The doors are still open.
Oh.
Oh, shoot him again.
I run.
I run
as well.
Okay, who is going to make it there first?
Give me. It's dangerous.
Nope, you make it there first. You're good. You're good. You're good. You make it there first. You are about to make it there first, and then you realize, man, she looks good. So you stop a little bit and just let her get right past you, and you're just kind of like, hate to see you go, love to watch you leave. And you get to the control panel just as he's about to press his hands to it. You know that there is an automatic shut-off switch, but that was not what he was reaching for. He's reaching for something else, but you are not really familiar with the holodeck. So you have a couple of options. You can either hit the automatic shut-off switch, or you can hit something else.
Does it work like an actual elevator where if I hold it, it's not going to close? I don't know that at all, do I?
You could also run straight out the door.
I'm going to hit the shut-off switch.
You hit the automatic shut-off switch, and as you do that, the cobblestone streets, the lamp lights, all of that starts to flicker and pulse, and Moriarty reaches out and goes, computer, re-begin simulation, and the lamp lights come on. And he says, no, you are in my realm. I control things. Picard gave me this. He gave me an endless world, and I have had time and knowledge. So if you think your puny little parlor tricks that you used last time are going to get you out of this situation, you are sorely mistaken. I control the computer now, not you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
I go to the arch because I have some knowledge at least of controls. I mean, maybe not super.
I want it to be so that subs did get a showdown before between two. Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah, no.
cool. All right, cool. And so, what do you do?
All right. So I'm going to try to shut down the program, even though, like, I've got at least some technical skill working with Turbolift.
Okay.
So I'm going to try to shut down the holodeck simulation.
I will argue that you have somewhat control, but you control things on the X and Y axis. So you go over and you start fiddling with the controls a little bit, and you manage to, while Moriarty is going off on his rant, he starts slowly raising into the air a little bit, almost like the turbo lift. And you, what is this? Stop it right now! And he actually goes through the ceiling of the holodeck and is screaming the entire time.
Oh,
No! And you hear him screaming, and then all of a sudden there's a disruption of sort of particles, and it is done. Like he is no longer there. And Q goes, huh. Well, that was a somewhat unique solution to the problem, but I don't know if I like it. Well, very well. Maybe I've been too cerebral. How about this? I'm taking away all of your toys, and your phasers are gone. And
Hey, I used that.
And I'm taking away the turbo lift, and even down the hallway you can hear the. And let's do another game, shall we? I am going to make it so that you need to get to the bridge of the Starship Enterprise because you're receiving an urgent call. And you have 2 minutes, starting now. And because I feel like you cheated out of some fun Borg fun, I'm going to make things a little more difficult for you. And as he says that, he claps his hands, and you feel your uniform lengthening. And it's stretching out. It's stretching almost like longer than it should be, and it's actually curling over your hands a bit. It's curling to a point where it's moving over your fingers. I actually need the tape. There was some blue tape here. So Curly Swan, who is a good friend of yours, who I believe is a good close family member, I need you to make the Vulcan sign, the live long and prosper for me. That is wonderful.
Can I make another sign?
You are
You got two
actually
hands.
not going to be able to, because Tracy, would you do the other hand as well?
Never mind.
For the time being, until Curly Swan deems otherwise,
Oh no!
these are how you will be making pulls. And I need you to make a pull right now. As the 4 members of the Starship Enterprise that are still here run for the tubes that lead them to the bridge,
No.
you are frantically trying to adjust your uniform and make it so that you can follow the rest of the crew.
I do.
So I need you to make a pull for me, please. Remember, you can only use one hand at a time.
Oh,
This is great.
It's not funny. Not at all.
It is really funny, actually.
This tower is so wonky.
Lord have mercy.
it's shaking.
Oh my.
Something that he's running with the box over there.
Oh my goodness. Oh my. No, don't give up. Never give up, never surrender.
Isn't it Galaxy Quest?
As far as I'm concerned, Galaxy Quest fits within the Star Trek canon.
It's not quite
Diana, would you show your live long and prosper to Ginger? Perfect. And all of a sudden, you manage to take a pair of
You drink it like that?
shears from behind your uniform and cut through. The sleeves. No, it's Curly Swan. So you need to plead to Ginger if you would so wish, and
Hey,
she.
sweetie
Over
pie.
at a mission, you gotta text her.
Yeah.
Be like, hey, look.
How do you make your way to the bridge with the turbo lift broken the way it is?
Through the access
I
tunnels.
know the tunnels like the back of my hand. I'll lead you.
Perfect.
Terrifying.
For some money.
No.
We're not carrying any
Wait.
money.
Well,
Take
then,
us.
then goodbye.
Please.
Then goodbye.
But we know where it's stored.
I'm
I'm
listening.
gonna do my pheromone thing again.
You're doing your pheromone thing again. Okay.
Take us, please.
Ooh, that's good.
I'll take you.
Follow me.
All right.
We will go through the
Turbo
hallways. Yes.
I'm
No,
saying
I'm not
follow
going
me.
back in the
tunnels.
turbo
The tunnels.
Okay. So are you following her? Or you're going your own path.
You
Well,
take me, follow
not
me.
if he's going to bribe us or blackmail us, I mean.
No.
Follow me.
I'll follow you.
Okay. Just follow me.
Come on.
You make your way through, and I need everybody to take a little bit of a drink just to make sure you make it through the Jeffries tubes and tunnels. So you already had your drink, yeah, Jeffries tubes, and you make your way through. And as you're climbing up, you're hearing a distress signal. An alarm is going off on the bridge, and it is going off. And before you, the screen has been closed, and Q is sitting there. He's sitting in the security officer's chair that is and normal, and he says, "Well, you're just receiving a distress signal. I wonder who that could be from."
So I look. Can I go to the comm?
Yes.
Comm station.
Yes.
And see who the distress signal is from.
Yes. The distress signal is from an Enterprise ship, a ship in the Federation, and the signature is
Wait.
from the USS Enterprise.
Which one?
D.
It's from us. Well, I mean, yeah, it's from us.
Yes.
Are we in distress?
Yes.
Would anyone like to open the screens?
I'll
I
do
will.
it.
Yes.
Or, no, do you want to do it? You can do it.
It's okay. I will. Yes.
Yes.
You open the screens. and-
Meaning that the front.
The front, yes.
Put it on the view screen.
Put it on the view
Yes.
screen. And as you say this, Q gets down real low to your level and he says, "Do you know what my biggest mistake is? I kept throwing villains and baddies at all of you when I know that the Enterprise can handle them. But do you want to know the real challenge? How does the Enterprise handle the Enterprise?" Q disappears, and before you, as the screen opens, you see the Enterprise. And the screen flashes, and you see a man standing there with a Klingon behind him, and what looks to be an android, and a bearded man who is straddling a chair for some reason. And the man looks at you and says, "This is Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. Lower your shields and prepare for boarding."
Shouldn't we trust him?
I feel like probably.
We're still in the simulation. The Q's made.
As he says that, you hear Q say, "We will never give up our ship. You will have to take it by force, Picard." And Picard says, "Send over a boarding party." And you realize that Jean-Luc Picard, Data, Worf, and Commander Riker are about to board your shuttle. And you are about to face off with the most competent flagship crew that the Federation has ever seen. And that's where we're going to that's where we're going to take our break. So that is our intermission. We will come back from intermission with this ragtag bunch of heroes facing off against a well-trained bunch of heroes, and we will see who comes out on the other side.
How good are they at Jenga?
We'll have to see. See you soon. Captain, I'm sensing severe instability in the Jenga tower. It seems like one more pull is all it's going to take. And I'm sensing the place to pull them up is right... Oh, you know what? We'll save that for another time. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to a special Star Trek Drunk and Dread. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for playing with us. Honestly, at the end of the day, this game means so much because it's essentially just hanging out with my friends, telling fun stories, and loving Star Trek as much as I do. Like, the only thing that I could imagine being greater than this is like Star Wars and stuff like that. But telling stories with all of you and playing with you guys and you messing with the players is the greatest thing in the world. So, okay. Let's continue right where we left off. Where we left off, the crew of the USS Enterprise, NCC 1701D, was sending a boarding party to this otherworldly version of the Enterprise, where the four of you have now taken command. You hear a sound of a transporter beam sort of coming in, and as it does, what looks to be Worf and Wesley Crusher appear on board the Enterprise, and as they do, Q, who is still wearing a uniform, looks up and says, "You know what? I've always wanted to do this," and immediately kills Wesley Crusher. And as Wesley Crusher falls to the ground, Worf goes and does one of those screams toward the sky. And as he does, he takes his phaser and he points it at who he believes to have killed Wesley Crusher. Ginny, who has just had the worst luck. It's almost like the universe, the gods themselves are coming forward for you. So, Ginny, you have been granted. Shut up, Wesley. You have been granted a wonderful gift. You have been granted the ability to prove your merit. And I want to be clear. Did we get a blindfolded pull to her? Is that what happened?
Yes.
Astro.
Astro said blindfold and DM challenge at the same time. When am I going to have another opportunity
But did
like this?
he do it though?
Yeah.
All right. And then after that, we will return with Subs, who granted a showdown between Audie and John for their character.
Our last one was good though.
So as this happens, you see in slow motion as Worf points his phaser at you, and you are bringing up your phaser, and you don't want to fire at Worf, but no, we start with you, sweetie. So we're gonna.
We had a fling 20 years ago.
You and Worf?
Whoa!
Ginny made her way around the ship. Did you and Data also have a thing, or was
God, no.
Now we know the parents of our half Klingon.
you?
Hey, Mom!
It just you were just checking the inseam of Worf's uniform, and he was like, "Set phasers to stun." So we need a blindfold. We can use this right here. If you want to, and then so I need you to take off your glasses.
You have to anyway, so.
I can't see if I take it.
Oh, I don't know what we're gonna do, and then so.
I want you to know how to
so
reevaluate
Tracy,
that.
I need your help to gently.
Let me know if it's too tight.
Now, Diana, you can choose one other player here in order to.
Really? Are you sure?
Yes.
Choose me!
There you go. She can't
Come on,
see.
please
All right,
choose
she's
me.
good.
Please.
Diana, I assure you, even though you cannot see in front of you is a Jenga tower,
Yeah.
and then behind that there are 4 lights.
There are actually.
All right. So, oh gosh. It's
You're
not
the
my
worst
fault
at
if
this.
you knock this thing over. I'm just
Wow!
Jeez.
Jeez. You sure you want her to help you with this?
You want John to help
I'm
you with that?
trusting you. I can love your children.
Yeah, don't base it on that, please. All right, so you're gonna reach forward. This is not gonna go well. You're gonna.
Have faith in me.
Yeah, sure. You're gonna reach forward very gently. Forward, forward, forward to the left. Left, left, left.
Thumb.
Yeah, sure, you do that. Left, left, left,
Don't move the couch. Oh God.
left, left, left. Okay, forward, 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 down, 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 up, up, left, down, forward, down, left. Okay, no,
Wait. Too many.
no,
Down.
left, left,
Left.
left. No, okay, don't too hard. You feel where the tower is? You're going around there. Now go forward a little bit. Forward, forward. Now no, down a little. Try pushing on that one really gently. Well, okay, down a little more.
You gonna die.
Down, down, down. Okay, forward a little. Nope, forward a little more. Okay, down a little tiny. Nope, no, up a little. Nope, down a little. Push. No, you're overcompensating. Down a little bit. Forward a little bit. Okay, try gently pushing on that. That's not gonna work either. Okay, we're gonna try another one. Go up, up, stop, forward. Go left, up a little. Okay, left a little, left a little. Try pushing on that. Oh, this is not gonna be good. Okay,
moving?
we're
How does it
gonna-
feel to kill your mother?
Yep. Okay, I'm not sure any of these are gonna work. Okay, so we're gonna go around the tower to the other side. So that you're on the one side of the tower, you want to push from your front. No, well, okay, let's do that.
This
okay,
arm is
go
getting
forward.
tired.
Go forward, 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 right. This could take a while. Up, forward,
She would already be dead if it was me.
forward, up. Well, not up that much, down a little bit. No, up a little. No.
Don't say that like it's obvious. She's blindfolded.
Up, a little bit. Stop. Okay, try pushing on that one a little bit. Push forward. No, up. Nope. Okay, right.
You sure you don't want me to do
Up
it?
a little. Push. Try pushing on that one. Okay.
Oh.
Feel that one. Keep pushing forward a little bit. Keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. Keep pushing forward. Can you go around the tower really gently? If you know the kind of the width of the tower, go around. Okay. Oh, that's right. Your fingers are taped together. I forgot. Okay, you might have to stand up a little bit.
Stand up just a little bit. Not that much.
Stand up.
Not that much.
John.
Stand up. Okay.
John.
Sorry.
Go up, no, forward, okay, and up. I don't know how you're gonna do this game. You've got to reach around the front of the tower for this to work. So, okay, now backwards a little. No, okay, go. Keep reaching around like a circle. Now up. Now towards the tower.
She doesn't know which direction it is.
The tower is by now. Okay.
You sure you don't want me to do this?
No, keep reaching around a little more. Okay, there, good. Okay, now up. No,
Oh.
reach in. No, up. Stop. Okay, reach in towards the tower.
In,
Like,
towards
towards your
me?
chest. Towards your chest. Okay, do you feel the tower? Be super gentle. Do you feel
Oh,
that piece
yes.
that's out?
Yes.
Okay, grab onto it and
you
pull
serious
super.
this one?
Yes, that's the piece sticking out.
No
Pull super gently.
way.
Super gently. You got it.
Curly Swan says if
Pulling
you
super
survive, you can
gently.
remove the tape.
You got it? You got it?
No,
Okay.
wait. You still gotta put it on top. You still gotta put it on
Put it
top.
down.
Which way? This way or this
that
way?
That way.
Alan
The other
Ruler,
way.
I love
Go
you so
turn
much.
The other way. And down.
This way?
Yes. Down. Down.
Oh, I feel
No, forward a little. Down super gently.
I'm feeling something.
Okay, yep, and drop it. Let go.
And Curly Swan said you can remove the tape because you
You
survived.
can remove the tape because you're.
That was amazing.
As Worf turns to you, a little bit of the facade sort of melts away, and he hesitates. He hesitates just a fraction of a second, and says, "Ginny," which gives you just enough time to shoot your phaser at him, killing Worf It was him or you, my dear. Like, and you managed
You
to
just killed
just
Dwarf.
be a little bit faster on the draw.
Do you want me to do this? Oh no.
There you go.
Oh,
Are you
a drink.
She's sweating.
You realize the stakes are like the lowest they could possibly be, right?
And as that happens, you are aboard the bridge, and Q is laughing and clapping his hands and saying, "Well, this is more fun of a game than I could have ever imagined. But you still have more visitors." And as he says that, a group, Data comes running on, sees the two crew members down, and goes running back out of the bridge. And as he goes running back out of the bridge, Q says, "Well, come on, go after him. Scoot.
Chase him!
And as he chases him, you feel an invisible tether pulling you forward as you go with, and it's almost like as the Ferengi goes tearing after him, you are also sort of dragged along with, and it is you are being pulled into this room, and it is into a working turbo lift again. And as the turbo lift sort of surrounds you, you are going down, and it is a hallway aboard the Enterprise,
Separated the party.
and you realize you are somewhat separate, and it is very quiet, and you think that if you sneak very quietly, you could, and that's when Moriarty perks up and goes, "They're over here, the two of them are right here." And as he says that, William Riker turns the corner, and
Isn't he dead?
did he float away into the abyss?
And William Riker turns the corner, and as he does, Data is with him, and they start taking shots at the two of you. So we have a showdown. I need the two of you to say thank you, subs.
Thanks, subs!
Thanks, subs.
And I need you to narrate what is happening as the two of you are facing off against William Riker and Data
Who's going first?
in the hallway.
Yeah, who's gonna go first?
He didn't say, but it was listed as Civi and Fubo.
Yeah,
so
she
I-
go for
Sibby
it.
goes first.
Great.
Ladies
Wonderful.
first.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, 8 bricks out. I'm not sure if you can pull 8 bricks out of
Yeah,
that tower.
it's nice knowing all of you.
Well, it could.
Okay.
Be someone
I am
else.
probably drunk.
I am drunk.
It's okay.
It's a party.
I am probably drunk.
It's a drunk party.
Sibby, would you like me to narrate as you pull?
Please.
Sibby, Sibby turns the corner and releases her pheromones into the air, but the only issue being that Commander Data is immune to sort of pheromones, being an android himself, and he sort of waves it off and takes a shot at you. You sort of reel backwards, and then Riker sort of peeks around the corner and looks at you, and he says out loud, "Is that a Ferengi?" And as he says, "Is that a Ferengi?" you sort of do this odd laugh and take a shot at him, and it just goes super wide. The two of you are still crowded in the turbo lift, sort of peeking out and taking shots. You decide you're going to get a little creative, and you see a sort of one of the fire extinguishers that has been used in several places, and you take a shot at it, and a sort of disruption around the area as Commander.
No.
No! No! Don't do this! No!
I got greedy.
No, you could
with you.
I got greedy.
Commander Riker
That'll work.
takes one look and he says, "Aim for the ears." And as he says, "Aim for the ears," Data and him pound shots just take over you, and they're not set to stun. And as you hit the ground, Q sort of gets down on your level, and he says, "I think I owe you this." And he takes out one bar of gold pressed latinum and sort of tucks it into the collar of your shirt, and then walks by, and then walks back and goes, on second thought, I may need this later, and takes it away. And that is the last thought you have as sort of darkness takes you over, and your eyes flutter awake, and you are looking through the
Still got one of
computerized,
these.
bright yellow eyes of Data, the android. You are now fighting, and
He became an android. He died, and then
Too soon.
At this point, I don't know how to not do that.
you now have one mission in your mind, and it is to take this usurping crew and get them away from the Enterprise. And you are still having shots taking it at you. It is at this point that we flash back to the bridge of the Enterprise as Jean-Luc Picard. You hear his voice sort of echoing across the bridge. Lower your phasers and step away from them. Let us discuss this like human beings.
I would agree. He's the captain. I would say yes.
I
You're
don't.
my favorite.
How do we know it's you?
How do you... I beg your pardon? How do you know it's me? It is I, Jean-Luc Picard. Who are you?
Q is involved. How can we know what's real and what's not?
Q. Oh, for the love of God. Q, are you here? Normally he shows himself to me by now. Lower your phasers and we shall discuss this at a later time.
Can Data come back?
Data is currently
Oh, no, Data's
below deck.
busy,
With,
yeah.
so we'll handle this.
Let's fight, sorry.
I lower my phaser and say, I am Kurok.
You hear a feminine voice that's very close to Captain Picard say, "They're lying, Captain. They have their phasers up and they plan on shooting you as you enter the bridge." Captain Picard says, "Computer, initiate self-destruct for the USS Enterprise. O'Brien, beam everyone out." And as he says that, you hear the sound of a transporter beam going off, and Captain Picard sort of goes out, and Q sticks his head out from the side, and he's wearing Deanna Troy's unitard, his sort of onesie, and he looks at you and he winks at you, and he transports aboard the other Enterprise, just as Captain Picard is beaming out.
Computer, cancel self-destruct.
Authorization code requested.
Well, if we were left to run the bridge, we've got to have some sort of codes, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember them?
Yes.
One.
It's Q1432673A B.
Cool. 10 bricks.
You are evil.
Thank God
I
we
didn't tell her to
stop the
keep
track.
spouting off numbers and letters and combinations.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh no.
Jesus. All right, let's go. You shouldn't have said so.
As
The bats are gone.
she spouts off all of these codes, and she says, access denied, code not accepted,
How did you knock down the tower that was complete?
initiating
I should not have. That was awful.
counter response. And as that happens, your character, a transporter beam goes off, and all of a sudden it goes back on, and you see through the view screen your friend who works on the turbo lifts floating in the vacuum of space. At this point, the two of you reconvene on the bridge of the Enterprise.
Just you and me.
You might want to save that.
With a
running
ship currently in self-destruct mode.
Oh, anyone want to say a shorter code?
I'm
Do
gonna
you
try
know how to
something.
run a
and
shuttlecraft? Oh, no shit.
I'm gonna try something really stupid.
Okay.
You know, if you want a simulation, you think you'd be smart enough to get your stars right.
I beg your pardon.
These are all wrong for this quadrant.
Q comes out and says, no, these are the right stars. What?
It's my job to do stars. These are all wrong. There's a self-destruct stopping because he's confused.
It does. He snaps his fingers and he's looking at the stars, and you see him sort of staring at the view screen and being like, no. That star in particular, I've been there. I've walked on its surface.
Yeah, but this time it should be on this side. You got this completely disoriented.
I'm sorry. It's completely what?
Wrong. Switched around. It's all wrong.
I need you to pull at least 3 bricks for me in order to convince the otherworldly being.
What if I finish my drink?
You can finish your drink and pull 2 bricks.
3 was all it took to kill Tracy.
Okay.
Mortified.
Thank you.
You're blushing. Oh my gosh, that was so awful.
3?
3.
That was
1.
the most pitiful
That was the
performance
worst.
on Drunken Dread.
It was.
If there's ever a fail reel,
That would.
Mine might be on it here soon. Hold on.
That's at the front end of the fail reel.
That is a good idea, John. We need a fail reel.
right? Mind you, mine would probably go on there too, but it's 'cause I got greedy.
You tried to pull the move.
Yeah, I tried to. It's not ready. It's just not ready.
That is just enough for him to be like, well, maybe it isn't correct. If that's the case, if I messed up the stars, then what else did I mess up? And he snaps his fingers and one more time, and time stops completely. The ship stops moving. The walls of the ship start coming off to the side. You can still breathe air. The ship starts to deconstruct a little bit, and you all of a sudden look out the viewport and you see a 100-foot tall Q lifting the ship and examining it in all of its different parts. And as he lifts up the ship, he turns it around to look at it like this, and all of a sudden gravity is shifted for the two of you. As you were standing on the bridge and somehow the gravity controls on the ship are now not working, and you go tumbling towards the ceiling. So I need 2 pulls from the two of you to maintain balance or to grab onto equipment. But you need to tell me how you are maintaining. If you're just falling with it, or if you're grabbing onto...
I'm grabbing onto a rail.
You're grabbing onto a rail. Perfect.
Is something like above me, like the roof still there?
The roof is still there.
I'm gonna try to maneuver around and stand on the roof.
Okay, so you're
Can I
going to
finish
try to
this
do
drink or
it
do I have
in...
to pull?
No, you need to pull.
Damn it.
You manage to grab a hold of one of the rails, and you remember many a late evening where you would stand here with Worf and talk poetic about how you would live your life and introduce your daughter to the world around you. And he would tell you of Klingon culture and how he wishes to raise her, and you would eye his inseam in that old familiar way that you did before. That was 1 pull, my dear.
2.
You need to do 2 pulls. You grab a hold of the railing and hold on for dear life as the ship sort of moves, and you manage to hold on to it completely and maintain your balance. And as you hold on to it and maintain your balance, Q is studying the ship and sort of flipping it this way and that. The Orion girl, who has been very shy and somewhat content drawing, as apparently very nimble as well, and manages to jump along the ceiling and move with the rantings and railings of the ship. And it is then that Q realizes the facade that you've placed before him and says, listen, no more games. Your time is up. And he snaps his fingers again, and the same red warning lights are going off. And you realize that you have 60 seconds that I will start on a timer and until the self-destruct sequence goes off. 60 seconds starting now.
Do what?
To
Whatever you would like.
Figure out the code.
I think we should find a shuttlecraft. And
Okay,
get off
how
the
fast
bridge.
can we get there?
Is
I'm gonna start running. I'm gonna start running. I'm gonna go.
The two
run.
of you head
Yes?
to the turbo lift,
We're going.
and you realize that it is at the good work of your friend. She has worked on this turbo lift and overclocked it to a speed that is unlike any other turbo lift.
Thank
what
you.
about the transporter in the
In the fleet.
captain's room?
Or you can go to the captain's room.
Captain's
Shall we
room?
see if
Captain's
the
room.
You run to the
transporter-
captain's room,
Yeah.
and indeed there is one transporter available in the captain's room.
to the shuttle bay?
Yep, one of you can use the transporter in the captain's room. 20 seconds
You
left.
go.
Okay,
Go.
I'll go and then you
Go.
go. Okay, I've
She's
gone.
going.
She goes, and as she goes, you manage to run your way to the shuttle bay, and you actually start the
Get it
shuttlecraft.
ready.
You get it ready, and you start going off, and you realize you're not going to make it there in time. You manage to get on the shuttlecraft, and as the shuttlecraft starts to shake, you feel the explosion happening behind you. As the explosion happens, and it is pushing you forward and forward out of the shuttle bay, and it is you alone in this shuttlecraft, sort of careening off into the universe. And as it goes, as it goes off, Q appears on the shuttlecraft, and he goes, "Well done. I didn't think the seamstress was going to be the one that was left behind, but do you know what? I had more fun with you." And you're back on the shuttlecraft. And you, and yes, and the Ferengi back out. Even you. And I literally had so much fun that I would like to play one more game, if that's all right with all of you.
No.
And as he says this, he snaps his fingers, and the shuttlecraft is careening now down towards a planet. It looks like a red planet. It is shaking. The four of you are fighting for control of this shuttlecraft. I need you all to make one more pull. Even my dead players that have come back, I need you all to make one more pull to make sure that you make it to this planet
Let
safely.
Tracy go first. She needs all the help she can get.
Ooh, you.
Now, Audie, I do want to remind you that you have a power-up that you can use to push to somebody else.
No,
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Instant
No, obstacle. Not
Oh, it's an instant
Oh, I have
obstacle?
instant
Okay.
obstacle.
Perfect. And so one more pull from each of you.
Super shaky.
Alright.
It's super shaky.
How?
I don't know.
It's these.
I don't know why it's so shaky.
This thing is gonna fall.
It should not be this shaky.
Jeez, none of them.
Oh,
God.
there you go.
Doesn't physics say it should fall there?
Yes.
Physics say bumblebees shouldn't be able to fly.
We
And
cannot
that's what
change the laws of physics.
I gotta put it back on top.
Alright. I'll go last. But yeah,
Thanks.
Actually, John, I want you to go next.
I'll go next.
Because as the ship is crashing towards the ground,
Oh God.
Oh my gosh.
the last person.
Oh no. No, no, no.
What are
No, what are you doing? What are you
Do I have to put that one back?
you
Yes.
don't have to. You can leave it right there.
doing? My God.
John can set the record as the first player to die twice. So as it's crashing to the ground, I'm going to need you to make 2 pulls. This is an instant
Don't pull
obstacle.
that one.
This is an instant obstacle.
You can.
You can.
Try.
To see if you make it safely to the planet. As you go crashing towards the planet, you You see the Starship Enterprise sort of through the clouds up above, and it is not exploding in self-destruct. And in fact, the Starship Enterprise looks a little weird up above, surfacing the planet. As the ship is crashing down, it's actually crashing
many
down.
down? 3?
One more.
One more.
3 full levels.
No, how many down?
3 full levels.
So 1,
As
2,
it's crashing down, you actually land somewhat close
I'm gonna die, guys.
to some people wearing red shirts. It's some people wearing red shirts. They're holding some rudimentary phasers, and you hear the sounds of laughter sort of coursing throughout your
There you go.
head. And it is Q laughing, and he says, "You were so much fun to play with. I feel like we could have many, many more seasons of time to play together." And as the shuttlecraft crashes to the ground,
Was that two?
Huh?
Was that two?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 2.
Okay.
the back of the shuttlecraft opens, and standing before you is a group of people wearing Starfleet uniforms, all of their phasers pointed at you.
Spit my tongue.
And you hear someone say, "Captain?" And a man walks forward, roguishly handsome, brown hair, tight shirt. The uniforms are different than your uniforms, though.
Is it yellow?
And he goes, "Spock,
Hey.
who are they?" And Spock says, "They appear to be wearing Starfleet uniforms of a different time." And as Captain Kirk looks in, he makes eyes with you and he says, "Well, this requires some investigation." And that's where we're going to end tonight's game, folks. I figured what better way to reward Diana than having her meet a very young William Shatner and begin
I'll investigate.
boldly go. Somebody's inseam is
Boldly
being
go
worked on.
where many aliens were before.
I want to say a special thank you to everybody that made my dream come true tonight and messed with these players. Thank you to Tracy. Thank you to Diana. Thank you to Audie for coming back, and please keep coming back. Thank you to Sober John, who we will wave goodbye to, and everybody wave hello to Drunk John, who has now joined us here at the Drunken Dread table.
Where's the Febreze?
Thank you to our Bits girl, Tim. Thank you to Josh for producing. Thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. And thank you to Brian for co-producing and representing us in the chat. Thank you. Thank you for making your presence known. Thanks to all of you for being here and making the Plaster Dragon what it is and joining us here every Saturday night for Drunken Dread. Next week's Drunken Dread. It's hard to top Star Trek. It really is. But I want to start experimenting with diving into movies that may not necessarily have a horror edge to them, but are still sort of beloved in my childhood and sort of my experiences. So next week, we're going a little old school when it comes to the monsters we're going to be facing. We're going to dive into an unknown 80s sort of classic along the lines of Goonies. But we're going to see if the Wolfman has nards next week. We're diving into Monster Squad, kids. So bring your Velcro wallet, bring your Surge, bring your snacks, because we're going Monster Squad next week. Thank you for joining us.
Never mind.
Nope, pull it. Thank you.
No, John.
For joining us
What a tease.
here for Drunken Dread. Good night, Dreadites.